Hello, Misfits, and welcome. In this episode, I want to talk all about my top 5 favorite tools for running a game. Now, a lot of my videos recently have been sort of Pathfinder-centric, but today's episode is something that should be useful for pretty much everybody. I think only one thing on my list is actually D&D specific, but everything else should be stuff that everybody can use, and hopefully it is helpful to you guys. I should also say that, these are the tools that I use and the tools that have been most helpful for me. And there's certainly more than 5 things that I use, but these are the things that I've been using the longest and the most consistently. So that is sort of, I guess, the logic and reasoning behind this list. If there's something that you love that's not on here, that doesn't mean that I don't know about it or don't love it or use it too. I was just trying to narrow things down to a nice, clean list of 5, and it was very hard to do that. But here it is. So let's sort of get into this list. Actually, before we get into this list, why don't we take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Describe. This is kind of my secret way of sneaking like a 6th thing into this list, because Describe is quickly becoming something that just fascinates me, that I find extremely useful. But let's get into who they are and what they can do to help you. Today's sponsor is Describe. Describe is an award-winning publisher of descriptive text, immersive sounds, and interactive maps. This is an incredibly useful tool for DMs and GMs alike. And if you are experiencing burnout or just struggling to think up the perfect description for your character, your scene, your dungeon, this is going to be the solution for you. You can search for pretty much anything on this website and see what descriptions they already have to offer. And if the stuff that you're finding isn't quite cutting it, you can, with the Hero subscription tier or higher, request a scene description or character description be made specifically for you, which I think is an incredibly useful tool. And that's a way to really just put a little bit of polish and finesse on your campaign that nobody else is going to be able to match. One of their newer features is their sound library, where they have ambience, music, and sound effects that they've been carefully crafting for the perfect scenario. This is the stuff that's really going to get your table immersed into the story that you're crafting. And I'm a bit of a music snob myself, so I kind of demand a certain caliber and quality of the sounds and music that I play during my games. And I can really say with confidence that the stuff that they have here on their website is really top-notch. You can't really go wrong with any of the stuff here. And they've been working really hard to expand it and make sure that it is a quality that everybody is going to be pleased with. Also, they've kind of taken things a step further, and so they will basically match these ambiences and this music with the descriptions that they've written. So you kind of have this sort of marriage of this beautiful text with this wonderful sound, and you're immediately just sort of immersed into that scene, and you can just hear it and picture it. And it's really fascinating what they've done here, and I really think it is worth looking at. Something that I also think is going to appeal to a lot of you is the fact that their descriptive text and their interactive maps are integrated with Foundry. I know so many of you are Foundry users, and so I know that that's going to be useful to you. So yeah, all of their maps in their library, that's all connected to Foundry. It doesn't cost anything to create an account on Describe, but the lowest subscription tier is only $3.79 a month, or if you decide to pay annually, then it would break down to be about $2.49 a month. And if you use the code Misfit, you can get 10% off your first subscription payment at checkout. So I encourage you guys to go check this out and take a look at this for yourselves, see what tools they have to offer. Each subscription tier unlocks more and more features, more and more tools that you can use that are there for your perusal. So be sure to check it out and use that code Misfit. Now, let's get into my list of favorites. So I was trying to think when I was creating this list, what is the thing that I use the absolute most, and what is the thing that I have used since the very beginning to help run my games? And that has to be Google Drive and Google Docs. I know that seems like such a simple thing, but it's kind of a godsend, honestly. It's really, really, really beneficial, especially if you have a table that doesn't meet in person. My group is spread across 4 different time zones and like 7 cities or something like that. So we really rely on a reliable way of sharing information digitally, because I can't go hand them a physical handout, and I'm not gonna wait to mail something to somebody. I need to get them that information as quickly as possible. So we use Google Drive and Google Docs. We have a shared drive that we all use as a party, and I use this to distribute handouts that I've created. I will give them maps of regions. I will give them like a document with our house rules, things like that. We even have a file in our drive just for character sheets, and they'll put their character sheets in there so that I can access them. That's pretty useful to us. And then we'll have a number of documents that are shared as well. In the last campaign, they had a bag of holding, and so we just had a Google Doc that everybody had access to, and that was like where we kept track of the inventory for the bag of holding. And anybody could add things to it or edit it, and that was pretty useful to us. I think I also used Google Drive to share like ship stats. In the last campaign, they had a flying ship that they would use, and so I just put those stats, I put that handout, I guess, of the stats in the drive, and they had access to it, and they could look at it whenever they wanted. So this is a pretty useful tool for material sharing, note-taking, and I mean, its biggest appeal is that you can pull it up literally anywhere. My entire campaign I write in a Google Doc, not one that they can look at, but I can pull it up anywhere. If I have an idea, if inspiration strikes, I can just pull it up even on my phone and type something in and edit it, and that's pretty useful. I used to write everything in just a Word document, but too many times did my computer crash and I would lose work and lose valuable stuff that I'd worked on. So Google Docs, Google Drive, that's the way we've basically functioned, and it is yet to let me down. So definitely have to put that at number 1. All right, number 2, and this one might be a bit controversial for some of you, but for me, number 2 is Roll20. I know so many of you are Foundry users, and look, I agree, that is a beautiful program. It's wonderful, it works wonders. We just happen to use Roll20, and there is a reason behind that. Roll20 is the first thing that we used. We started playing virtually like in the late spring of 2019, in the times before the plague, and Roll20 was kind of one of the best things on the market at that time, and it was the most like cost effective. I think maybe I ran the first session on the free version, but I ran out of storage immediately, so I upgraded to I think it's the Plus subscription. It's not the highest, it's like the mid-tier, and I've been using that since. It does everything that I need it to do. I don't need the like highest subscription. I really don't need that. And I've yet to run out of storage, and I do like almost everything through Roll20, and that's why I like it, because it does everything. I use it to run the game, like to show my maps and stuff. I use it for tracking initiative, looking up stats and spells. They have a compendium on Roll20 that has like everything in it. I use it for communicating with each other. We have the video chat and then like the text chat, and I use it for playing music. I literally do so many different things through Roll20, and honestly, they all work pretty reliably well. Yeah, and I know some of you will use like Discord for stuff, but we've tried that. We've tried doing video chat through Discord, and some of our computers just really hate it, and they will crash, and it has never worked reliably for us. Whereas Roll20, it can be a little buggy getting in, but normally once everybody's in, it's fine. And actually, they just rolled out a new, like, updated video chat, and we used it in our very last game, like our last session that just went out Friday, and it works totally fine. Like, no complaints here at all. Something else I like about Roll20 is they obviously have been working really hard to improve it, and I see those changes that they've made, and they've been really, really good. I mean, they've updated dynamic lighting, they've added this sort of torch feature where you can just sort of drop light in rooms, which is really nice. They just added doors and windows and one-way walls. I think they're working on weather, or maybe they've already rolled it out. They added a dark mode, which makes Roll20 look way better. It looked so bad before, but now it looks a lot nicer. So it's just worked well for us. I don't need all the fancy bells and whistles. I don't really want to just like click a button and it roll my monster damage and everything and tally all of that up for me. I don't want my game to function like an isometric video game. I still want to physically do a lot of those rolls and calculations and things. I like that. So Roll20 gives me everything I need to effectively run the game for all of my players, and that's kind of all I could ask for. Will we stay there forever? I don't know. Who knows? We really looked hard into switching to Foundry for a while, but it just, I would have had to pay to have my game hosted on somebody else's server, and the cost between switching to Foundry versus staying with Roll20 was a whopping total of like $3, which seemed like, and that's not $3 a month, that's like $3 total for the entire year, and it just didn't seem like it was worth it that much to make that change. So that seemed, I can pay $3 to have the comfort of not having to change and re-upload all of my maps and all of my music and all of that stuff. So we stayed. And on the subject of the music, so much music comes with Roll20, and they continually add to that library, and some of the music there is really, really nice quality, and I'm pretty happy with the stuff that's there. And it's all stuff like, because you are using it through Roll20, you don't have to worry about like any legality issues, and it's typically all royalty-free stuff, but you can also upload your own music, which is what I've done as well. Some of the music that you hear in our games is stuff that I've composed, or some other stuff that I have purchased and stuff, and so it's really, really useful. I really don't have many complaints there, so that's what we use. Let's move on to the next thing. All right, number 3, and this is sort of a newer addition to my list, but this is probably my favorite map making tool right now, and that has to be Dungeon Alchemist. So Dungeon Alchemist, this was actually sort of like a gift that my players got me. We saw the announcement of the Kickstarter when they were making it, and my players asked me if that's something I'd be interested in, and it was something that I had looked at just a little bit, but I had kind of hesitated to jump onto that. But they all pitched in, and so we supported that Kickstarter, which gave me access to the game once it came out, which was great. And now you can buy it on Steam. I think in the Kickstarter we paid $30-something to support and get the game. I think now it's available on Steam for $44.99, have it written down, which isn't that bad, and you can do so much with this. So basically you can create any map, and there are a bunch of different sort of terrain tools that you can use to adjust, like creating hills or mountains or valleys or lakes or pools of water. You can put in trees and rocks and plants and stuff. You can build rooms and structures. And it can automatically populate the room with furniture themed to the type of room you're looking for. Like, let's say we're building a castle. They have like a whole castle list, and it's like, all right, I want to do the dungeon part of the castle. And you click dungeon, and then you create your room, and then it populates it with all the dungeon stuff. You can edit the shape of that room later. You can take all the furniture out. You can add new furniture in. Honestly, Dungeon Alchemist, look, there's probably going to be just a niche little section of you that are going to relate to this, but Dungeon Alchemist fills the Sims void that I didn't realize I had. I grew up playing a lot of Sims, and the part I loved the most was building the buildings, and this gives me that. They also continue to add new stuff to this. Like, they've added some curved elements that a lot of people really wanted. They've added lava. They've got these like themed items. They just did this like ice dungeon pack not too long ago that was really cool. Also, there are a bunch of different like cool lights and stuff that you can use to populate a room and add this sort of ambient lighting to the room. And there is like dynamic lighting integration. Like when you export that map and put it into like Roll20 or Foundry, you can like have it set up to where it does all that dynamic lighting integration for you when you go into Roll20 or Foundry. I will say on Roll20, you have to have the highest subscription to reap those benefits. In order for it to automatically do all that dynamic lighting stuff for you on Roll20, you have to have like that high subscription, which is the one I don't have. So I just go back through, draw my walls, put my lights in, it's fine. I don't care about that. It's not that much effort to me. I know how to do that. It doesn't take that much time anymore. But that might be like something to note for some of you. But yeah, it's awesome. I'll hopefully by now I will have been showing you on the screen various maps that I have made in Dungeon Alchemist. But this is good for me because I like homebrew campaigns, and sometimes you just don't find that perfect map that matches the idea you have in your head. I have a very clear mental image of what I want, and if I can't find that in a map, then I want to create it, and I don't necessarily have the time to like draw and paint a beautiful map, and this kind of does a lot of that work for you, which is really nice. And I mean, I don't really have any complaints. It looks beautiful, it works well, and every time I've used a Dungeon Alchemist map that I've made, my players have really complimented it and admired the stuff that this program can put out. So, highly recommend. Number 4, and this is something that I think many of you might not have heard of, but number 4 is a website called Scabbard. So I use Scabbard basically like a personal wiki for my campaign. That's kind of its purpose. You create an account. There's free version, there's paid versions. It's up to you what you want. But you can basically create a campaign, invite your players to come and make a free account and join it, and you can use this to create pages for events and NPCs and places and items and vehicles, and they can click on all those different pages and read up on the stuff that you put there. So I have like a big campaign that's all of my homebrew world stuff, and I've got lists of like every notable NPC, and they all have their own pages. You can click in there, learn a little bit about that NPC, read up on their connections to other things. And something that I really, really like about Scabbard is that when you're filling in these descriptions for these characters and for these objects and things, it has a proper noun kind of like identifier in its programming, so it will recognize that there's a proper noun in that description, and it will either see that you already have a page for that and automatically link it to that page, or it will prompt you and ask you if you want to create a new page for that proper noun if it doesn't detect that there's a page for that already existing. So if I've made all of these other pages, all these other NPCs, all these other places and organizations and things, and then I write my description for the leader of that organization, and I mention all those other things, all those other pages I've already made in this description, when I hit save and I view it for the first time, it will automatically already have all those links to all those other pages. And anybody can go in and click on that, and it'll take them to that page, and they can see how everything is connected. They can see all of this sort of history baked into these pages that links it to all these different things. And that is what I really, really, really like. You can also go through and like edit connections and show how they're all connected to each other and all of those things, and those are all links, which is cool. Yeah, it's just a really, really awesome tool. I looked at a bunch of different things because the lore was getting beyond me. The lore I was creating for my world was getting to be a lot, and so I needed a way to kind of keep track of everything just for my own like mind's sake. And this was one of the most like cost-effective ones that I found that did everything that I wanted. There are other sites that do this, but they seemed more expensive, or more expensive yet more limited sometimes in what they could do. This was like the best one when I was comparing everything, and I enjoyed it. And several of my players really enjoy poking around and looking at all of the pages that I make. It will send them updates when I update things. You can also check to update it secretly if you don't want them to know. And I should also mention that you can also have like secrets, just DM secrets that you fill out, and so only you can see them, and then later maybe you could reveal those later if they uncover that secret. It's just really cool. I know that my player Claudia just loves to just go through and like look at all those pages and like update her own page for her character. It's really awesome. So I really recommend that. If you're looking for a way to sort of organize your world lore, this is a really useful tool for that. All right, number 5, and this is the one D&D specific tool, but it's Kobold Fight Club. Now, my Pathfinder people, I mentioned some encounter builders and balancers that you can use for that. I did that in like a Pathfinder tools video, so I'll just link that in the description below if you missed that video somehow. But for my D&D people, Kobold Fight Club is like the encounter balancer for you. And if you're a D&D person, you know that balancing an encounter is it's not easy, and it's not always accurate. It takes a lot of sort of experience and feeling things out to kind of figure out how it works, but Kobold Fight Club has been a pretty reliable tool to help me with that. So pretty much anytime I'm creating an encounter, I will plug it into Kobold Fight Club just to see what at its baseline it says the difficulty is. I am aware that is going to skew differently based on who my players are playing as, and some of the things they're going up against, or what the terrain and the scenario is. But this is a good baseline to kind of get a rough idea of how the encounter generally is supposed to be. And so I'll plug things in and then go from there. What I really like about Kobold Fight Club is that it has third-party stuff in there too. Like when you're going in and you're looking at all the sources that it's pulling from when you're trying to create an encounter and see how it's going to balance out, you can look at all this third-party stuff, and that is what I find super crucial, because I love trying to have my players face off against new monsters every time. And if you're looking at just the core monster manual, that can be a pretty limiting like section of monsters, like, and they don't even cover all the regions very well. I remember trying to find ice monsters for something in campaign 1, and I was extremely disappointed by the options I was given in the monster manual. And at that point, Rime of the Frost Maiden wasn't out yet, so I was basically having to sort of craft my own stuff. But looking through Kobold Fight Club, discovered a lot of sort of ice variants of monsters that these third-party creators had made. And so that was a great way for me to find other third-party like publishers and creators. I found them through Kobold Fight Club because I was seeing all these cool monsters that weren't in any of my books. And I was like, where is that? I need to go find that. So sometimes I just like to get on there just to look at all the different monsters. But basically, you can put in the number of players that are going to be fighting in this encounter, and you can sort of adjust how many monsters they're facing up against. You can look for the specific CR level of a monster. You can look for, you know, a specific type of monster, like a fiend or an aberration. You can even, they've sort of updated things a little bit. You can even like, all right, we're looking for stuff in just like underwater scenarios, and I'm looking for a fight that's going to be like a medium to hard fight, and you can put all that information in and it will generate an encounter for you. And you can choose to go with that or something like that. You know, of course, because it's D&D, take the CR level, take that level with a grain of salt, because D&D is not going to account for magic items. It's not really going to account for like the ingenuity of your players and how creative they can be. But it's at least going to give you a base value. And some of you might use or have used the D&D Beyond encounter balancer. I poked around it when it was in alpha and I was extremely disappointed, and it didn't have that third-party content that I wanted. So that's why I've always stuck with Kobold Fight Club. So just keep that in mind. Okay, this last one is sort of an honorable mention. It's like secret. If we count Describe, this is like secretly number 7 on the list. So it's called Kassoon.com, and I use this website to find out the cost of magic items. If you're a D&D person, if you're a 5th edition person, then you know that generally magic items don't have a specific cost put next to them. They'll just be like, well, if it's a common item, it's probably going to have a cost in this range. And if it's a rare item, it might have a cost in this range. I want a specific monetary amount, okay? And I want you to give it to me from the get-go. I don't like coming up with that stuff on my own. I want you to tell me how much it's supposed to cost. This website has costs next to everything. And some of the magic items are like not things that you find in your books, or they're like unique items that I've not seen before, which is kind of interesting. It can kind of give you some cool ideas, kind of like the third-party stuff on Kobold Fight Club. But I have to mention this because I remember being so frustrated trying to come up with costs, and then I found this website and was like, thank you, this is what I needed. But yeah, it's been a lifesaver for sure. So you can pretty much search for anything and it's going to tell you the cost of it. So I will put the link to that website in the description below. Anyway, those have been my 5 to 7 useful tools for running a game. Yeah, these are just my favorites. There are definitely more, but these are the ones that I use the most. And I really wanted to share them with you guys. If any of you ever want me to do a deeper dive into any of these tools, specifically like Roll20 or Scabbard or Dungeon Alchemist, just let me know. Say something in the comments below and tell me if that's something you might be interested in, or if there's something else that you guys use that's your favorite tool and you're not sure if I'm aware of it. Tell me about it in the comments. I read pretty much every single comment. I try to reply or like or heart most of them, but I definitely read them. So say something in the comments, because y'all definitely said some stuff in my last video that I wasn't aware of. So that's been useful information to me. So I would love to hear from you guys about all of that. So that's pretty much all I've got for you today. So with that being said, Please remember to like and subscribe. That stuff really, really helps me out. It's a great way to sort of grow this channel so that more people can see this stuff, and I can try to help more people and give them just some friendly little tools and advice if they're struggling. But with that all said and out of the way, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I will see you again next time. We have a different outro video for you today. I want you to meet my little dice goblin, which is Molly. Hi, baby. Molly is she's my dog, my dice goblin. And I call her that because she literally ate one of my dice one time, which was interesting. Yeah, you did, didn't you? You ate one of my dice and it was bad and you had to throw it up. But she's always sitting behind me during our games. She's a little staffy. She's a little pit bull. But she's my little sidekick. And you probably often hear her snoring or goofing off or running around or drinking water during my games. And that's her. That's what's happening. So this is Molly. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. And we'll see you again next time, won't we? Won't wait.